Yo people, Makkuro here, and today I'm bringing the race highlights. Basically, I'm highlighting some interesting moments from races, as the name would suggest, and I'm starting here with the Nurburgring GP with the GTE cars and having probably one of the best races I've ever had. And the Corvette chap here is by far the fastest in this race. He posted a 1 second qualifying faster time than me, but as it is in the race, you know, qualifying, edgy setup probably, so not able to post as consistent time. Still, even then, he was by far the fastest of our free group here. The mean BMW, another one in the Ferrari was the slowest of our three, and then the Corvette chap. Now I was able to sort of fight side by side with the Corvette for a while. Basically, I was fast enough to convince him when we were side by side, but not really fast enough to really pull a gap. But still, as you can see, I was able to make up a position, given he was slower out of the corner. I concentrated on just getting the run, and unfortunately I wasn't fast enough. He got into slipstream, was able to get into the inside, a bit of contact here and there, and he got the position back, as it happens. That said, I'm still not giving up. I know where I'm strong. Is basically I have the top end. He's better through the corners. I assume he has more downforce than me. So I'm just waiting for those big strays, get into the slipstream, and then just pull out right before the corner to get a bit side by side, and then use the brakes, which I know on my car are friggin' awesome. So as you can see here, I'm going for I'm basically filling the mirrors, trying to make him make a mistake, which worked. He outbrake himself, and just go nicely, get clean, and go into the clean air, hot lapping mode basically. Although I was never really able to pull up a gap, so for few laps this basically stayed as it was until few laps later when he got close to me and he was able to launch, well, an attack. So basically a bit of a dive bomb, but nothing bad. Again, left him some space. I was okay, I'm gonna concentrate on the exit, get a better run out of the chicanes, and then fight him on the finish straight. Which, as you can see, I managed to do, and given he has more downforce, even with the better run out of while going out of the last corner, I still managed to beat him to the first corner. So still, I was on the inside, so I knew my entry out of this corner was compromised. I tried to get on the power as early, and unfortunately I went a bit too early on the power. So here we basically go like, okay, I slowed down, my mistake, you go first. He, on the other hand, he's fast, he's in for the racing, so he's like, you know what, you go first, I don't care. And I'm like, no, you go first, sir. And the Ferrari chap just decided, you know what, you can bicker around, I'm just gonna capitalize on this. And to be honest, I don't blame him. And because of that, now it's a freeway battle for the lead. Well, technically, for a moment. Given that if the Corvette guy would want, he would just run off from us, and it would just be me taking on the Ferrari. I gave a bit of a bump because a bit slower into the entry, nothing major, and the Corvette chap decides to wait again. So basically he wins the I'll let you go fight. I'll get him though, I'll get him someday, maybe. Anyway, I went a bit too, or rather my braking point was good, but I got a bit too much on the AstroTurf. That made my car a bit oversteery, and I was like, oh crap. So I lost a bit of ground. However, I know my car, surprisingly enough, has a very good top end on this track. And as I mentioned before, I'm really good on the brakes, so I just concentrate on getting very good runs through the chicanes. Still mindful that there is a Corvette behind me that is faster than me and is trying to sniff out. However, the Ferrari goes defensive. I use that to basically close in and keep a close check on it. Now again, I am still being mindful that there is a Corvette behind me, and even though I have the better run, and I'm able to get side by side with the Ferrari. He goes defensive, I'm on the outside, he's on the inside. The Corvette is basically stuck because there's a wall of cars and he can't go anywhere. Now, because I was outside on the first, I am able to get a bit of insight to this next, but he was far ahead of me to not be able to stick that. So I'm basically focusing, get the best exit out of this corner, again get side by side, and pull out the risky maneuver that most don't think you can stick it, but if you can, hold it, this is what happens, and it is glorious. Ha ha ha, and well, a bit of a spoiler I suppose, this is how the race will end, because Ferrari, yes, the guy in Ferrari is the slowest of us three, he being the second fastest and the Corvette being faster, he's still good enough to keep ahead of the Corvette, and Nurburgring being a rather high altitude track, the Corvette does struggle a bit on the straights, not as much as it would on a Red Bull Ring or a Fuji or a Red Bull Ring. Did I mention Red Bull Ring? Did I say Red Bull Ring twice? I probably did, never mind. Basically, the Ferrari guy was able to keep it to the end, and that's how it finished. And I was just benefiting from the fact that the Ferrari was slowing down the Corvette. Anyway, the next race is at Zolder's, and again GT cars because they're really good. Now, the Ferrari guy was a bit too early on the brakes, although my team was accurate and I was just that good. So I know he blocked me a bit on the entry, but I went for the very good exit, so a lot of speed. I was able to get side by side. He pushed me a bit to the inside, but I ate a lot of the curb, and then he went early on the brakes here. I capitalized on that. I went a bit later and was able to go nicely and take the position, and then in the chase for the Ford GT ahead of me and the Beetle ahead of him, who along with the Ferrari were actually false started, but the game basically synchronized them well, so for them they started normally as it should, but everyone else had to still wait for the game to actually allow them to start, you know. So yeah, so the Ferrari and the Beetle are actually people that qualified in outside top 10, I believe. Maybe the Beetle slightly high, maybe Beetle was in the top 10, but otherwise, yeah. It was basically a fight with me and the Ford GT for the lead. I was qualified as first, but the mouse a bit locked at the start and a bad launch, so that's that. However, I get a good run on the Ford GT, and even though unlike the previous time where I was behind, this time I'm side by side. I know I'm better on the brakes. All I just need to do is brake slightly later, park on the apex, make it impossible for him to do a cutback. Job done. And then go and chase the Beetle, which was easier than I thought it would, because, well, as a picture soon will show, people that drive Beetles aren't most of the time very good, I'd like to say, but nah. As you can see, he goes wide. That said, me being cocky, I obviously had to go a bit wide, so the Beetle takes the lead again. So I duck behind him, use the slipstream a bit, not much of it. Concentrate on eating the curbs a bit and getting a better run out of the chicane. And that puts me again ahead, and off I am. The Beetle was very early on the brakes for that chicane. Took way too much speed into the chicane, so I was off on the second part. But there is a Ford GT that was following me, and he is now also taking his part for the Beetle. Now the Beetle, as I said, slower than both of us, so he's not even going defensive, he just knows he's outmatched. So he didn't really even push apart. They're side by side here, but Ford GT had the run, goes a bit defensive, covered the inside, and as you can see, he got the lead. Well, lead. He got the position with me leading and winning. Now this race needs a bit of a background, because I was leading, increasing the gap towards the second place, which is the Ferrari right ahead of me. But there was a back marker who tried to let me pass and wanted to go to the inside right after the corner. Unfortunately, I did exactly the same and just slightly ahead of him, so I went to the inside, he goes into the inside, he side swaps me literally on this corner into the wall, and I had to go to the pits. Fortunately enough, with the damage enabled, there was also a mandatory pit stop, so I didn't lose as much time as I would otherwise, but still time lost. Now this is basically a fight for the second position, but the leader at this moment still haven't pit. So it's basically a fight for winning, for the lead. As you can see, I'm all over his rear. It's basically a case of me trying to lunge an attack, not getting it to stick, and then losing a bit of time, and then gaining that time through the next corner or two, and then trying another attack. So this corner I wasn't as fast as I wanted to be, so next corner I get a much better run here. I'm able to almost get side by side, use the slipstream as much as I can, then slightly pull out of it, try to fill the mirrors, get side, but unfortunately I had to slow down too much, make good use of it. He didn't really went defensive, but he definitely covered the apex well enough for me to not really be able to do anything. Fortunately enough, he did win wide, so I was just able to close up instantly. Now through those last corners, we were basically even, so I couldn't really make up any time, which meant that I was just simply following him. So that's basically the story of this last sector shown beside. However, I knew that in the next corners I'm strongest. My best possible situation here was the second corner and then the very fast right. That's where I'm gaining a lot on him. So I take an attack here, get it side by side, even on the exit, but he still gets the better run and he's on the inside. Unfortunately, I wasn't good enough with my car control to make use of the space I was given. It was enough, but just, yeah, with a gamepad it's sometimes difficult to get use that little of space available. Anyway, because of that I was put a bit behind, but I got a massive run out of this corner again. And then something incredible happened, because I managed to go side by side and then avoided this. And managed to make the pass stick and lead the race. I still have no idea how I did that, but I know one thing for sure. The Beetle driver had to shut his pants when he saw that. And nothing happened. Anyway, another race, this time on Bathurst, still a GTEs, because, yeah. I'm trying to fill his mirrors, make him go a bit defensive, not sure. I get a really good run, able to pull out of him, go a bit side by side. He gives me enough space, we all basically are mindful of each other, very close to walls and each other, and I somehow managed to make that move stick. Very close to everything, and this is seriously butt clenching moments when you're so close to each other and going at this speed into a corner that is really tight and scary, shall we say, and still manage to stick. And here, like millimeters away from the wall. Anyway, this is basically more of a bonus clip here, because there are moments when you find yourself racing a cunt, the kind that if he can't have it, you will not have it as well. So the Ford GT with the green mirrors is the cunt in the question. Now, before we raced for the lead, however, took him on the outside, no problem, and he then just continued to drive as I wasn't there and managed to spin me and himself as well. So that wasn't cool. So now here I got the slipstream, I got top end, so I know I'm good on brakes. I covered the inside. I'm not sure if there was a bump between the two that he bumped me off, but here I go. That guy is pushed a bit wide, then he goes back into the track in a ramming fashion, and I decided, you know what, you're not gonna have it. And I literally spun him over, and then I was like, see ya. I'm not gonna play with his shenanigans anymore. Now to see it from my own perspective, as I saw it when I was racing, basically got a pump, go wide, and then he massively basically rammed me. And I just go back and into him. As you can see, very violent rejoin to the track. Just, yeah. At that point I didn't care. I was like, no more. You've run out of your... This was a race incident tickets, basically. Anyway, that's it for this race highlights. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to get some good racing footage, surprisingly enough. However, if you did enjoy, please hit the like button. If you didn't, then dislike it. You can also support me on Patreon, you can follow me on Twitter, you can subscribe to the channel to keep up to date, keep informed of the new content that I upload. Next video is probably gonna be a small quick tutorial for Project Cars 2, along with Dorifto Kingo Master. Not really, but yeah. And after that I am gonna be starting the Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, the original playthrough with many mods and many crashes, and that should be fun. Anyway, you driver heroes, you're Makkuro, thanks for watching, and see ya.